Well, I'm here this morning with my friend Chip Hartzell. This is Dr. Rick Janelle. And Chip, I hear you've been doing some classes on finances at your local church.
Yeah, we have. Mostly the younger adults have been part of the group, and part of the reason is most Americans, in my opinion, experience, really don't know where their money goes when they run out of money. What did I do with all of it? And so it's a discovery process that we're going through in terms of what does it mean to be a Christian and be faithful to God and manage our money well.
That's pretty great. I've really struggled with finances through my life.
Well, me too. Me too.
Had a good wife that's finished raising me and teaching me some of those financial principles
that happens.
I didn't learn in my younger days.
Yeah.
So what would you say would be the most important thing when you're talking about these kind of principles?
Well, I think everyone struggles with the question, 2 or 3 questions. One is, how much is enough? And the other is, will I ever have enough? And what I try to do in the class is establish that whatever we have and who we are is God's gift to us. And what we do with that is our gift back to God. And so that's why we tie faith and finance together. I think there's a couple of biblical principles that Jesus teaches in the parable about the man who has servants, and he goes away and he leaves different amounts of money with them. And to put it in our terms, he would leave maybe $100 with one servant, and 50 with another, and 10 with another. And he gave them money according to what he understood their ability was to handle it.
Right.
But his charge to them was to use that, to invest it, if you will. And when he returns, of course, 2 of them have doubled the money. And one of them said, I was afraid and I hid it in the mattress. And we can do that with our money, our finances. We can do it with our life in relationship to God. But if we follow what God intends for us, it is that as we grow and mature in our faith, then we become more responsible and we're given more to be responsible for. So in the parable, I think Jesus teaches 4 basic ideas about finance and life and faith. Number 1 is that God owns it all. Whatever we have, God has given to us to use. It's ours to use, but He's the owner. And so often, as I grew up at least, I grew up with the idea that what I put in the contribution was God's and the rest was mine. And as a Christian, I've come to realize I belong to God. Therefore, everything He gives me is also His. So I encourage folks after the class to go home, and wherever they live, assuming they own their house, just walk the perimeter of their property. And keep in mind that dirt was there before they arrived. It'll be there when they're gone. And the earth belongs to God. And everything that we have as a Christian belongs to Him. Point number 2 would be the comparison between the servants. That God, not only does God own it all, but we're in a growth pattern. And therefore, when the man that had the $100 given to him, when this owner came back and he says, here's what I've done, and now it's worth $200, he says, well done, good and faithful servant. Now keep all of that and continue to use it. And then he does the same thing with the person that he only gave the $50 to. And so we're in a growth pattern. We're in growth mode. We're on a journey with God in this idea of stewardship. And then the third one is that the amount that we start with is not important. It's important to us because we all want more. But God's given us what we're capable of handling. And so the amount that you have compared to the amount I have, that comparison is not important. What is important is, are we faithfully using this to produce, to be productive? And then the last point would be that faith requires action. The person that hid that $10 under their mattress, and when the owner came back, they said, oh, we kept it, here it is, but we were afraid to do anything with it. Living the Christian life is not a life of fear. It's a life of faith. It's a life of trusting God and moving forward. And so as we accumulate wealth, as things come to us, whether it's a job or a promotion or an increase in our compensation, faith requires action. It means that we trust God not only for what He did yesterday, but what He's doing today and for what He will do tomorrow. And that's the idea of stewardship, that God owns it all. And where we are, we're in a growth pattern, and where we start doesn't matter. What does matter is being faithful to God in this process.
Yeah. Sounds to me like some of the same kind of principles as dealing with having a family.
Yeah.
Some people view their children as being theirs to do as they wish with, and some people view their children as a gifting for a temporary a time. And
if there's one other thing, Rick, that I would encourage people to think about, and I do in the class, is that once you realize that you are a steward, you're a caretaker of what God is giving you, then comes the reality that every financial decision is in fact a spiritual decision, because you're deciding what to do with what really belongs to God. And that changes the way we think about our priorities, and priorities are the next thing we talk about in the next lesson.
Very good. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts here.
I appreciate you asking.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place to...
It is. Newbern is beautiful. We're here on Lawson Creek Park, which flows into the Trent River, and just a quarter mile downstream, the Trent River flows into the Neuse, one of the largest rivers on the East Coast. Beautiful place to live.
It sure beats the winter we've had in Pennsylvania this year.
Amen.
Well, thanks, man. This is Rick, Janelle, and Chip Hartzell. Thanks for listening.